Oh yeah, more than ready, Zoe. Thank you very much for your guys' breakdown on the desk as well. I don't know, Josh, how this is going to be living up to the match we just witnessed. I'm exhausted already. I've aged 20 years. It was backwards, it was forwards, it was going every single way in every single direction. But we're not even, well, I guess we are at the midway point of the day, I suppose, yeah. It's going to be an interesting one. The Florida Mayhem versus the Vancouver Titans. We've got two, I think, quite drastically different teams in terms of where the community in general consensus is on where to place them, I suppose, on like power rankings. Yep. But yeah, it's going to be intriguing to see what Vancouver Titans can pull out to try and combat and maybe get a win here against the Florida Mayhem, who are clearly the favorites.
Yeah, I think this kind of game is a good opportunity to assess the levels of various different players, different questions that we have about these teams too. You know, we're at the very beginning point of the season. This is only the first week. And so as much as everybody wants to say our questions have been answered from the off-season, they haven't really. This is still just the very beginning of those little points. You know, the Shanghai Dragons, they lost to Chengdu last year at the very beginning of the season too. These kind of things occur. And for the Florida Mayhem, this roster, we still have some questions about them. They looked excellent in their opening game. I was very impressed with how they played against Atlanta. But it's the consistency, it's keeping that up, it's being able to show us many different looks. And so these kind of games are the ones where I like to see kind of what Florida feels confident to show us here.
Of course, and you can see the starters here as well. I mean, I think the shining example as well, one of our narratives that we were carrying forward was, of course, OG. This is a guy that we had a lot of questions surrounding, of course, wondering how well he was going to be performing in this Florida squad. But so far, so good, honestly, in their sort of test match, I suppose, against Atlanta. He's been performing, I think, above a lot of the naysayers' expectations. For me, you know, I always have faith in Florida. I'm just going to, again, throw that out there.
Keep cashing in that goodwill. Keep cashing it in.
I am cashing out the goodwill. And our opposition, the Titans, another team that's also made a resounding amount of changes here. And they really are going for that kind of scrappy underdog feel, I think, this season, more so than they were even possibly in the last one.
Yeah, this team is a very interesting one. A lot of people have got them towards the bottom of the table, but at the end of the day, these guys have got some veteran talent on their team. People like Linkser, who isn't in the starting lineup right now, but other people like Rolf and people who've been in the Overwatch League for a number of years now, like Fried Wiener too, who I love his name. I'm glad that we don't call him FRD anymore. So these are the kind of players where I'm interested to see whether we see one of them have a breakout year, one of them get ahead of the pack or carry their team to some big performances. And it's these kind of games where you don't expect too much of them, where you can see one of the players just pop off. A star moment from Teru, perhaps, a name that not many people are that familiar with. These are the games where something like that can happen.
You can see here in our Melee qualifiers presented by Xfinity, the first map in this series is Nepal. We're going to be heading into that momentarily, as well as the players are getting ready to go. One of the things that we saw, Josh, in the Florida Mayhem game, actually, was kind of their weakness, I suppose, when they were playing a lot of the rush compositions against Atlanta and struggling to keep up with that kind of pace. They definitely looked more comfortable when they were playing a lot of the double bubble. Would you expect this to be something that, you know, the Vancouver Titans are probably taking into this series as a weakness to exploit?
I think most of the time, you need to build a foundation before you build the rest of your house. And for Overwatch League teams, that means that you need your own game to be solid before you can start thinking about prepping against good opponents and how to counter them and how to beat them. And I would imagine, just from the little that we've seen so far of the Vancouver Titans, that they're still in that process of building a really solid foundation for their team. They have a core that they've taken over from last year, and they've added in some new pieces, and that kind of stuff takes time. It just does. It takes time to be able to build a cohesive team system, get a bunch of comps down that you're really comfortable with, have map-dependent strategies. So I don't think they're going to be countering Florida so much as just playing their own game.
Well, here we have it. The teams are rolling out. You can see them taking vastly different approaches here. The high ground for the Vancouver Titans. Quick little TP play from Florida, so they're going to be early on, just setting up onto the point with the Symmetra. BQB still staying onto that role as well.
Yeah, and I'm interested in Gargo being on the Sigma here too. Not a usual pick, and something that they've tried before as well. It's going to allow Dalton to get into the back, and a quick little flashbang fan the hammer. So Mitsui would be happy about that.
He's going to be traded 1-for-1, but it does give the Vancouver Titans a bit of space now onto the point. Maybe they can capitalize. Maybe they can get a couple of more picks. You see the wall is going to be splitting them up. And they do manage to flip the point again into their favor, so you can see here, it's going to be accruing a bit at a time, but already that sim wall has been built up. BQB is going to start shredding, and the damage is done as the Florida Mayhem are going to regain control, flipping it over. Now they're in a pretty solid position, and look at this stagger as well. Brutal on the fried wiener.
It really is. His life is pain. He keeps getting staggered towards the end of these fights, and unfortunately, this year we've got those amazing player cams where you can see all of our players' reactions to what's going on in the game. Whenever he's in that pile of diva form, he's just like, oh, please, just end me already. Get me into the next team fight.
That's why they're trying to buff it in the experimental patch, you know?
Sure,
Make
yeah. Give him the
direct.
250 damage on the core mech. Watch them try and stagger me now.
We'll see what the Ice Wall can do. It's a bit of a miss here coming through as the players, they're completely split up onto the point. But it's Gangnam who's the first one to go down as Dalton is finding so much value and damage. Rolling deep. The Soundbire is going to be traded out by both these teams, but a little bit late from Slime.
A little bit late. That was an eon late, Brent.
I was being kind, Josh. I was being kind.
Four of his players had already died, and he pops the sound barrier towards the end of the fight. The Vancouver Titans completely outplayed them there. Again, with Dalton being this star player, he got the opening pick of the round, and he, along with some great ultimate usage and good timing on the push, delivers them that one on a platter.
It does feel like a little bit of uncomfortable, I think, elements when it comes to these rush compositions, but the TP comes through. They're going to try and make it work here. The Blizzard, the wall is perfect. Teru again with some great plays to split up the rest of the team. The Vancouver Titans are quick to capitalize off it once again. Another team fight wipe.
Yeah, and now we see Florida go and make some changes in their composition. Gargoyle moves over to the Diva. I think this is a better pick, just straight up. I'm not really sure about this Reinhardt Sigma theory that they've been trying to integrate a little bit, but it hasn't worked out that great so far. They're now at a disadvantage against the Vancouver Titans, and Gargoyle's in a rough position, gets DMA'd.
Yeah, Gargoyle caught out by the Deadeye there as well. He was trying to predict and eat it, I suppose, to try and save OG, but ends up getting caught out himself. Fortunately, sent back to the respawn queue, so he's going to get back in his mech and going to be with the rest of his team. But the Vancouver Titans now looking with 80% on the board and steadily ticking upwards.
It definitely is. Florida are a little slow to be able to get off the mark on some of these pushes, and they're getting caught by the walls. They're really nice by Teru, actually. A new addition, and there's Shredlock. He gets the shatter, catches Yaki, and forces out that ice block.
OG's in so much trouble here, and he's been brought so low. The Blizzard ate up as well by Fried, and the overtime will tick, but ultimately no one from Florida is left standing to contest. And that's going to be round one going to the Vancouver Titans. Really solid understanding of how to play that comp.
I mean, today's the day of upsets, Brent. This is awesome. The Vancouver Titans come strong out of the gate and show Florida that they're not into... You can't be messing around. When you play against any team this year, they're all capable of being able to take a match away from you if you don't bring your A game. That applies as much as it does to the Valiant over in the APAC region as it does to the Vancouver Titans.
Give immense credit, I think, to Teru as well with a lot of these ice walls. I mean, they've been so key in splitting up the rest of the Florida Mayhem. And it's what I brought up earlier, but this was a weakness of the Florida Mayhem, which is their rush composition in terms of the pace at which they want to play the game. They like to be a little bit more careful and considerate when it comes to their game plan. It doesn't really suit this comp well, but we'll see the teams are brawling, the walls are up once more, and it is Teru who goes down first, which is going to make it nice and easy. Fried Wiener unfortunately caught off at the side here, might get rewarded with a kill. Nobody was peeling for BQB, just got eviscerated. Still, I mean, see the Florida Mayhem trying to make sense of it all. They're struggling a little bit. The backward pin from OG does take Shredlock out of the fight. It's scrappy, it's a bit all over the place. But it looks like the Florida Mayhem are the ones who are currently large and in charge. You can see a little bit of point pressure as Gargoyle's just trying to get a bit of capture time on it. Might be able to come from behind here, and Fried Winner, yep, in a bit of trouble, gets the D-Max out. You see the amplification matrix from the back line. Means that nobody from the Vancouver Titans can really face them right now or risk getting blown up. So it is the initial capture going to the Florida.
Now Gargoyle's Sigma looks a little better now that they're in control of the point because he can get on these off angles. That was an attempt at a shatter there. Yaki puts up the May wall as a bit of a bait. They drop it at the same time as OG lays down the shatter, but all of the Vancouver Titans players had an inkling that that one was coming towards them. Nobody gets caught by it. Florida's still in control of the point though, and it seems like they're reluctant to go aggressive in these moments. It's just Gargoyle splitting himself off, playing on an off angle.
What a massive gravitic flux. It's going to catch on to 3 targets, and that's going to set them up for the damage. Slime with the boop as well. Holy moly. So the Florida Mayhem, it was looking a little bit sketch, but they managed to make it work in the end. And you're seeing a bit of that indecisiveness, I think, from the Vancouver Titans, just rearing its head a little bit there as well. You know, when the amplification matrix didn't quite get what they were looking for, they looked a little bit lost in terms of their game plan and what they wanted to commit to.
They've got some ults coming up online here, and I think the main factor for the Vancouver Titans is not so much their ults, but their pace. Turning up the tempo is going to be huge against the Florida Mayhem, a team that's playing with a Sigma, and a hero that's going to get damage out over time, overplaying on these off angles. They wall off the Deadeye here, and this is going to buy time for Teru to get up to his Blizzard. They have 70% though. A bit of point pressure, isolate Gargoyle and take him down with the Blizzard might be a huge pick that they need to be able to open this point up.
See the Deadeye coming out from Dalton as well, just to try and create a bit of space here. But again, it is slow, it's careful. You want to be turning up the pace a little bit. Ganamjin laying down his amplification matrix means that you don't want to be playing into it.
Look how isolated Gargoyle is. If the Vancouver Titans try and put pressure there, no one can help him. The Florida Mayhem will be too slow. And instead, Blizzard goes down on the main tank body.
Almost every ultimate that the Vancouver Titans have, but it ends up with Teru falling. Dalton's still around. Finally, they're going to punish Gargoyle for just being isolated onto the point. You can see the point will flip over now, so the Vancouver Titans recognizing what their win con was. But it's, yeah, still, currently where it stands, they invested a ton of ultimates to retake that. Now they've got the uphill battle of trying to hold on.
Yeah, I'd love to see Vancouver try and hold a little close here, but they recognize they're at a big ultimate disadvantage. Slime and Yaki get up to their ults. That gives them a big defensive ult, a big aggressive ult to be able to use too. But they've isolated Gargoyle again. This is a great win condition for Vancouver if they can play fast enough to get this pick and get back to the point. But Mayhem have already flipped.
They flipped the point, Josh. They flipped the point. And they might be one player down, but they're going to get the freeze now onto Fried Wiener. The Blizzard is going to be free as well. Unable to be 8 up. And the Vancouver Titans, they thought they spotted an opportunity, but the Immortality field was too good. OG getting pressured heavily there. Ends up going down to the Fire Strike. Unable to get the Earth Shatter off. The Vancouver Titans, I mean, it was a little bit sketch, but they're just about holding on still. Florida looking to contest this. They use the Matrix, the window. You can see it at the back again. But no one from Vancouver is peeking their heads out.
Hello.
Florida chose not to invest that many ults in that fight. They used the Blizzard, you know, to be able to just lock up that kill on Fried and make sure they took the objective. And then Ganamjin used his ult, but it was a little too late. But that does mean that Florida still have a huge amount of ults to be able to use. They can engage with the Deadeye and try and funnel people into an area. Gargoyle can get a huge flux off here if he wants to too.
The Deadeyes do stall out both these teams for a considerable amount of time. You can see Gargoyle battling onto the point. The Gravitic Flux is going to catch onto a couple of targets. It forces out the Immortality field. BQB getting the better of it. Up on the flank, and the flashbangs connecting and just doing work.
The point is mine.
And now with the Florida Mayhem just rolling over the opposition, they've got them cornered in the offshoot of this map. They're going to have to contest the point at which they're doing, but the focus fire from Florida does not seem to be that concise. Not able to get this kill, finally getting the D-Mech here onto Fry Wiener, but look at this. Rob with another window. This is going to be a lot of damage consistently pushed in. Fire with a great boop. Gargoyle, he tried to pile drive right into them, but just got punished for it immediately. And OG's been caught out of position. Frozen up again, off onto the sidelines, taken out. And yes, the Florida Mayhem have managed to flip the point, but at what cost? They've lost so many of their players. Overtime still burning, now the Blizzard as well. Teru having to go into the Ice Block just to try and contest and keep that overtime going. Boots back immediately. You can see the counter Blizzard also falling out, but nobody's taking care of BQB. The window is laid down. It's overlaying a ton of damage on top of what he was already dishing out. And that's going to enable the Florida Mayhem to take that one, but my goodness, Josh, they had to work for it.
Yeah, and that was incredibly sloppy as well from Florida. They're going to have to tighten their game up if they want to be able to come away with this clean win that they're looking for, to go 2-0 in their first week. This is way too close. I don't know whether you're getting this impression as well, Brent, but you can sense a clear difference in terms of their comfortability with the rush comps and the dive comps, and I think it's exhibited here by the fact that it almost looks like we're moving in slow motion compared to the Shock Houston game that we just watched.
Yeah.
All of the decision making is happening, it's much more labored, it's much slower. The way that they're playing is more like spread across the map, like they're trying to take map control instead of play as a deathball unit, and it just lowers the tempo massively. It's providing win conditions here for the Vancouver Titans. They have an opportunity to take this map.
Well, the teams are brawling immediately, and OG a little bit caught out, but he managed to get a great wall here onto Shredlock, frozen up, but no one's focusing down the Immortality Field still. OG's caught out of position, finally goes down, and is going to get into line of sight of his own Immortality Field, keeping him alive for a few brief moments, but not long enough. Shredlock will be the one to remove him from the fight. Quick little Fire Strike does the business. And it just left up to Gargoyle as one of the sole tanks. Not a lot that he can get done, but thankfully the rest of the Florida Mayhem seems perfectly adapt to it.
BQB and Yaki are getting so much work done whenever they have the opportunity to. With space and time to be able to hit their shots, they are managing to make work happen, which is perhaps one of the reasons that Florida wants to play a little slower. Allow Gargoyle and BQB and Yaki to take more control over it, rather than relying on precise teamwork and coordination. Let those guys shine. BQB's already up to that first Deadeye that's going to be really critical here at stopping Vancouver Titans from taking a lot of space. But that Amp Matrix on the other side, it's got to be walled off.
See the Amp Matrix used super early here. That's an initial pick immediately. Look at that, the Icicle, the headshot. Teru finding it onto Yaki, just blown up without a trace. Now you can see Florida have to answer back with one of their own, and they do just that. OG again getting caught out, but a flashbang is going to save him into the Gravitic Flux. It's a ton of damage. Anything to work off? Yes, it is. The Florida Mayhem able to find a couple of picks. Just a couple of players left standing here, but the Florida Mayhem holding on. Only investing the 2 ultimates. Admittedly, they were pretty big at that. But they've got to be feeling a little bit more comfortable now winning that team fight when it was looking a little bit sketch early on.
Yeah, now they're in a great position. They have Blizzard to be able to use if they want to play aggressively here, but it seems like the tendency of Mayhem is to play kind of reactively, which means that your player to watch is Slime. As they come in here, they've got sound barriers on both sides. Florida Mayhem probably going to kite and try and get a lot of value. No, actually turning the pace up, trying to go aggressively, but this Blizzard is so deep. They've only managed to catch 5, but that might be the only pick that they need here. This is so messy from Florida. The sound barrier only catches the back line.
Yep, Slime only being able to save the supports. OG trying to clutch it up with a shadow, but gets met with his own. And the amount of times he's seen the MTD, that main tank difference, I mean, this feels a little bit different to the previous series that we've watched. The Vancouver Titans off the back of that, you know, Florida, I can respect the attempt there. Turn up the pace, trying to really catch the Vancouver Titans off guard, but they were in a really good position if they just kept playing how they were.
And also, nobody was on the same page as Yaki. Yaki was 3 miles ahead of the rest of his team, trying to isolate the Vancouver Titans inside that Mega Pack room. And that's a great play to go for if the rest of your team's on board. Looks like Florida are going for it again here. Gargoyle taking a bit of an off angle, looking for extra damage behind the Reinhardt shield to build up his flux.
Wow. That's going to be the Blizzard as well, locking them all up. A couple of players on the point. The Immortality Field is keeping them alive. But looking like they have to disengage from this fight. Yeah, BQB just feeding into them just to reset. Back to the drawing board for Florida.
Yeah, Fried on the Sigma too.
Yeah.
Fried swapped over in the previous fight to the Sigma, and so now they're mirroring the Rhine Sigma. Slightly slower tempo, value over time. And Gargoyle's got a flux. This big ult can be a massive game changer, but you need to get your the opposing players into the right position for it, which normally means you have to apply pressure. This Deadeye is going to create a lot of space for them, though.
Wow, okay, yeah. The grasp, not really doing too much work. I mean, he ate up a lot of the Deadeye damage, but the players are already falling on the side of Florida. Gravitic Flux is going to be used almost immediately here. Realizes there's an opportunity to catch some of these players off guard. Rolf goes down, just about missing the accretion. Going for the 1v1 with the shields, look at that. Right ends up bringing himself down with his own hyperspheres. Still a winnable scenario for Florida. They did lose OG early on. He's only just about respawning, and the Vancouver Titans with that tank and support healer difference, they're going to be able to hold on to this point.
If Vancouver are smart here, they should be able to bait out the Blizzard from Yaki. They can try and prod a little aggressively, back off. They have a sound barrier to rely on as well if they get caught. They have been completely caught.
Well, completely caught out of position. Fire has to use the sound barrier very early on. Slime not close to one of his own, but they've got Shred locked down. They've burnt him down. Slime needs to be able to build this up to give his team the advantage. OG stalling it out. What a beautiful shadow catching it onto the one player. And finally, the sound barrier is going to give them that HP advantage. Only a couple of players remaining, 91%. The point will go back into their favor here. The accretion just to try and stall them off. Shredlock realizes, I've got to take a risky angle. I've got to try and make some plays happen with the Earth Shatter. Not going to work. He's going to pay with his life. Fire just stalling the overtime as the players from the Vancouver Titans desperately try and hold on to this. With the amount of players that the Florida Mayhem have, all they've got to do is just focus their fire down, find the remaining players now. You see the Blizzard from Teru just trying to turn this around, but Slime just getting all the work done as well, zipping and zooping around the map. The Amp Matrix not going to be doing the business, and that's going to be the Florida Mayhem taking an admittedly very close map here against the Vancouver Titans.
But at the end of the day, they come out with the map win, and it doesn't matter how close they are. If you put them on the board, that's what counts, especially this season. You have 16 regular season matches. You can't afford a single one to slip through the cracks. Even if you don't quite bring your A game to a match, if you win it, that's what matters. It's on the board.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Florida, they may find themselves on more maps that suit the double bubble style, which they're so good at. And maybe turning away from the rush style is probably what they're hoping for. But we're going to go to a short break. On the other side, of course, we're going to see the continuation of this series, ladies and gentlemen. You know, get some water, take a stretch break, but we'll be right back.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
Do you feel like something is missing? You used to be top tier, but lately you've been lacking that legendary feeling. Are your skins and sprays default? Overwatch League Perks by T-Mobile may be right for you. By connecting your YouTube account with your Battle.net account, you can start earning great Overwatch League perks. like League tokens to spend on legendary skins, as well as sprays and Overwatch League skins by just tuning into tournament matches. With Overwatch League perks, you can get back to doing what you love. Dumpstering randoms in Diamond. And doing it in style. Ask your doctor about linking your accounts today. Overwatch League perks by T-Mobile. They make everything better. Isn't that right, Reinhardt-looking, yogurt-eating stock footage guy?
Welcome back, everybody, and yes, make sure to represent your favorite team this season by shopping on the Overwatch League collection at mitchellandness.com, including new team snapbacks. You can see there, mitchellandness.com. Shop now, all available right there and waiting for you to purchase. And yeah, you're joining us as this match is kicking off. Here's our power rankings with IBM Watson. As you can see, Gangnamjin at 6, player that we've been watching pretty closely so far. And there's no surprises here. I mean, this guy is a phenomenal talent.
Yeah, he's a very, very good player and was an important part of them in the of this team's success in the 2020 season. And of course, these statistics are taken from the 2020 season. The notably absent player here from the Florida Mayhem is Sly, who wasn't with the team last year and also took almost a year's break, essentially, from playing in matches because he was on the Seoul Dynasty, but not really getting playtime ahead of Toby after he had been a former player on that old Vancouver Titans roster. So this is him playing against his former organization, a totally different team, obviously, but this is a brand new addition to the Florida Mayhem in a similar sense that OG is. And speaking of the Vancouver Titans, they have made a substitution here as well. Dalton out, Linksa in as we head towards King's Row. So I'm imagining that Lynx is going to be playing more of that long-range hit scan. It's a map that we've seen quite a lot of teams go towards the rush for.
Yep, it is indeed. A bit more of that veteran presence as well. You can see the Vancouver Titans just laughing around, joking around. Spirits are high, it seems, moving into this one, and we're up in King's Row. That's probably part of the reason as well. Another map where typically you're going to see a lot of these rush compositions laid out, and it's really, honestly, what's kept the Vancouver Titans, you know, with a bit of a almost edge over the Florida Mayhem. You can definitely tell there's a slight bit of uncomfortableness when it comes to them playing those compositions. And you can see the team's raring.
They still
to
look
go
happy though. They still look high spirits on the Florida Mayhem side. You know, they've taken a little bit of break. They've calmed themselves down. They're coming into the rest of the series here.
I should hope they are, Josh. You know, they're one map up.
Yeah, but I think the manner in which they got that map is a little concerning to fans on the outside. So I think it's, you know, it's always interesting now that we have the player cams to get a sense for what the team is feeling. It's easy to get shook if you only just win a map. But yeah, I think Florida are looking pretty good here. They definitely have some issues that look like could be systemic when it comes to the rush comp. But at the same time, the meta at the moment seems pretty open. You know, we're going to be heading later in the series to maps like Havana, for example, or even Volskaya. There's a lot of different stuff that you can run on those maps. You can run double shield, you can run the double bubble compositions. You could even try and force something like that here. So I'm interested to see what Florida, what they showcase. Are we going to see an improvement of that rush mirror, or are they going to try and force OG back onto the Winston?
Well, what we were being teased is not what we're going to get. The Florida Mayhem are going to be going again to that kind of rush composition. Gargoyle still on the Sigma. It's going to be a heavy rotation all the way up into the hotel. You can see them looking to try and skip a lot of that chip damage right over the wall. Going to be playing around this statue now. The Vancouver Titans going to be meeting them head on. You can see early wall laid down by both of these teams, not catching out too many of these players. Gargoyle getting frozen up here. The process caught out of position just a slight tad, but it is Fire who will be the first casualty as the immortality field fades as well. Vancouver Titans with a bit of a disadvantage now coming into this fight as they're stunned up and locked up in the choke. Unable to really withstand a lot of this pressure that's being pumped out by this Florida Mayhem squad. It's going to be the early capture of checkpoint A.
Great flank through Hotel by BQB. He's got Gargoyle behind him just to provide a bit more support and a shield if he needs it. And that seems like that's what they want to go for. Little mini flanks with Gargoyle and BQB to create off-angle pressure from the DPS and from an off-tank that could be considered a DPS with how much damage it does at times. So Vancouver, again, we've been saying this before on map 1, but turning up the pace is really important and denying those off angles. Look at Florida's positioning here too. They want to go with a flank here for OG around the side, try and catch them at the back. He doesn't have a Shadow, but he does have a Lucio.
They're trying to go for a little bit of a split approach here. They've caught a couple of the teammates off guard, but again, a bit of miscommunication. The Amp Matrix comes through and OG blown up as he was mid-fire strike swing. Not able to get anything done off of it, and the Vancouver Titans, that's a critical place to hold now. This choke point can be pretty brutal, even for the best of the teams to try and break past. Linksa is, okay, playing deep. He knows that there's somebody up here. Okay, it's not going to be getting away with that one. Gananjin just kind of broke his ankles a little bit. Trying to catch his players off guard now. What a gravitic flux! Catching so many of these players. The Immortality Field is going to negate a lot of the threat of it, just in case, but eventually that's going to fade. Florida Mayhem still looking for opportunities to collapse onto them. Another off-angle approach here by Gargoyle, but it's been spotted out and jumped on immediately, and that's going to be the Blizzard thrown out. There's no risk of it being ate up by Gargoyle. Using that grasp, Sandbar is going to be used to try and keep OG up and alive. The shield will break, and he will fall. The Titans, I mean, they are just honestly spotting a lot of the weaknesses of what Florida are getting away with here. Previously, you know, Gargoyle was getting away with a flank here, BQB maybe as well, but they're jumping on that quicker than in the previous map.
I like that. The punish onto Gargoyle was good, but you can also see that OG had a decent idea of what he wanted to do there too. As soon as everyone went to punish Gargoyle, he tried to shatter them at their backs. So good play by Vancouver to be still aware of that. And Shredlock comes out with his own shatter at the beginning of this fight. Unfortunately, Teru the first to fall.
See the Sandbar is now traded out by both, or just the one member here, as Fire is going to be using it just to try and keep his team back up, but that's going to be futile. Florida Mayhem locking it all down. Yaki's Blizzard doing a ton of work, and yet just the tail end of the team fight here as Florida finally break through this cursed choke point.
3 minutes on the clock too. Florida pushing forwards here. Seems like BQB's on cart duty at the moment, but the rest of the team is pushing forwards, trying to create that pressure. With Gargoyle, though, they aren't really going to be going extremely aggressive. They're not trying to get right in Vancouver's face, but just taking these forward positions and getting Gargoyle in a good off angle, close to this choke on the opposite side to OG, means he's going to continue to build up towards this flux.
See the Deadeyes being used now, or at least a D-Deadeye by BQB. Lynx are going to be answering with one of his own as well. Quite get much out of it. A lot of the damage being pumped in through now as the Amp Matrix are falling, and look at that, Rolf with the pick onto BQB, the Gravitic Flux to answer. Skygo wants to try and convert this into a win regardless of the man disadvantages that he's accrued. And they're going to do just that here, the Florida Mayhem investing and being rewarded for it. Finance 101. I was learning about that this morning, talking to some people who know more than me.
Yeah, would you invest in the Florida Mayhem right now? Are you investing in BQB's Soldier 76? I thought he was going to pull it out for us there.
Sure, I'd buy into that. I mean, he did kind of bait us a little bit. He was looking like he wanted to, but...
that's unfortunate. I would have loved to see them play some Soldier. That is a very unusual pick to play in a rush comp like this. OG is just getting flattened right now.
You can see the Blizzards now, or at least the Blizzard from Teru being thrown out. Slime going to be using the Soundbar just to keep his team alive, but he's caught out in the corridor. Again, the Ice Wall is pretty brutal here. Okay, and the Blizzard is catching 3 of them, but look at this. Teru ended up using his own Ice Wall, so they can't even capitalize. They can't push off the back of it. There's no way they can try and convert that into any sort of picks. In Florida, they are forced to back off.
I can definitely appreciate the confidence for Florida going for some of these plays. Investing ults when you're already down a man because you feel confident enough to turn it around, but most of the time they're just ending up being wastes.
His Lynx are just trying to stall out the inevitable. Going for a little bit of a cheeky play here as an off angle. Hits one headshot, not connected on the second one here. Slime with the kill. A couple of swings now from OG, pinned against the ice wall. Beautiful work here as they just manage to sweep up the rest of the Vancouver Titans. And this card's going to start rolling in. A bit of a dangerous situation for the Vancouver Titans, despite the ultimates they've got, because they've got to get past this chokehold that they've got here at each exit.
And BQB's Deadeye too. If you get past the front line, BQB's waiting. Shredlock tried, but it's not going to work. 1 minute and 58 seconds on the clock.
Let's take a listen in here at the Mayhem's communications.
블루투스지. 여기서 하자.
가보자. 인기야 말 한마디만 해볼래? 나 이거 소리 좀 높일게. 아.
야, 한마디 아니냐?
한마디만 하라며. 좋았다 그래.
이게 복식 호흡으로 해야지.
All right, Danny, what you want to fill us in on what was going on there?
All right, guys, hi, I am here. I just heard the comms, so I'll just go down. I'll just go really fast. So I just heard that they really wanted to give it their all. They're like, okay, let's get this, let's get the win. And I also heard somebody saying, oh hey, I can't really hear your audio, so can you say something? And one of the players from Florida Mayhem said, that's literally it. And they started laughing. And then they were talking about how you gotta get the sound out from your stomach, not through your throat. So that's it from me, guys. Good luck. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you, Danny.
Speak from the diaphragm. Speak from the diaphragm, Bren.
I was hunched over yesterday, so my voice was getting hoarse. I wasn't speaking. It was like literally broadcast 101. And I've learned my lesson. I'm learning from the Florida Mayhem as well. I'm stood up today.
I can't quite hear you, Bren. Can you make a noise from your diaphragm?
Is that good enough? That's kind of what they were doing.
Good.
Yeah, I'm reverting to my primal form with that one. Yeah, we'll see.
Florida have got control over the high ground here. Something that I want to point people's attention to is how much Florida are trying to play this rush comp, but it's split in three. So they have like Gargoyle playing with Slime and Gargoyle playing with BQB and Gangnam Jin, and then they're setting up flanks with OG, Yaki, and Slime. Pay attention to that because they've tried to do it multiple times now in this match.
Flashbang tries to go over to the shields. They're trying to set this up here, but look at this, the Florida Mayhem, the ones who are winning at the end of the day. Beautiful shots from BQB. Nicely done.
Yeah. They just did it again there, Bren. I don't know whether you noticed, but they split either side of the statue with their Batiste and their McCree and the Sigma moving to the right side, and then they've got a Wall and a Lucio and a Rhine on the other side. So they're trying to wall off opponents and speed boost the Rhine into them, whilst they have all of this damage coming from an off angle. It's such an interestingly slow way of playing this rush comp. It's so unique, actually. I don't think I've seen another team try and do this.
See that they're capable of trying to do something similar. You can see the Vancouver Titans really not wasting any time. The Matrix comes through, but what an Earth Shatter. Oh, gee. That's 2 players down, and it sets up BQB nicely with the Deadeye. As Terror is going to fall. Now it is a rumble in such a close corridor here. You can see Vancouver Titans just trying to edge us out, but ultimately they do not have the player advantage necessary to try and win out that fight. Back to the spawn door. 2 minutes remaining now, Josh. Florida with a good attempt so far of just holding them back.
Yeah, and that way that the Florida Mayhem is splitting up also makes it a little harder to punish Gargoyle, because if you turn to try and fight him, you got OG at your back getting speed boosted towards you. And now you're dealing with a big ultimate disadvantage too. For Vancouver Titans, this becomes a tough task. I think trying to put as much pressure on OG as possible quickly before Gargoyle and BQB can get value from the off angle is the play.
It's a ton of damage into Shredlock with the Blizzard laid down as well. And look at this off angle by Gargoyle. No one's checking him whatsoever. He's just getting in so much work with the Hyperspheres. Lynx are desperate to try and do something, maybe, take a player down with him, but he's going to get shut down as well. And now the Florida Mayhem are actually going to be taking the high ground here. Because the
6 ults though for Vancouver Titans.
Yeah.
Well, essentially 6 ults on both sides apart from Yaki's Blizzard. I'd like to see them flank through Hotel here, get set up by the archway, and use Rolf's window to try and push people back. Not sure whether that's what they're looking to go for. They are flanking through Hotel. I'd like to see them try and use Rolf's window though to make sure OG can't close the distance. They don't quite have it yet.
BQB's been caught out of position. Flashbang around the side to plant the hammer. Oh my god! Reminiscent of So Min Soo. It's going to be doing it to him right there, bringing him down. You can see the Deadeye also going to be popped, but Lynx pressing the issue, forcing his body into him, and there you go.
Yeah,
gonna be
the
the
execution
one-for-one
just wasn't
trade.
quite there with Vancouver's strat. They faked the push into Hotel and then decided to try and speed boost kind of towards the point, but Teru went the wrong side of the statue and got caught off. It all ended up being a little uncoordinated there. And now they're trying to push into another Flux, and Yaki's up to another Blizzard too. There's only 20 seconds left, and those are 2 massive ults.
See the Blizzard now use. What a reaction. Shatter OG. Not going to be surviving, but he got the players down. At least trying to stall it out. Yaki falling as well. Going to be stalling up this point here. Very split positioning right now from the Florida Mayhem. BQB is walled off, unable to really do much. Gargoyle on the high ground as well. It is so scrappy, so messy. Eventually, the Vancouver Titans are just about grinding it out. Going to find this checkpoint A now with 2.5 minutes. Not as quick as the Florida Mayhem, but still workable.
Definitely workable, and they'll just be thankful that they got point A there, because that was looking tough towards the end. They forced some good ultimates out of the Florida Mayhem too. Now as we get towards the more tight, confined areas of Kings Row, into the streets, this I think is where Vancouver Titans should have a bit of an advantage. It's harder to go for flanks and take high ground positions with Gargoyle, Gannamji, and BQB. So if the Vancouver Titans can play around their ults here, try and use a Deadeye to push forwards and take some space. Oh, here it comes, the flank again. This little trio of Yaki, Slime, and OG.
Yeah, that wall's going to force Yaki out of position, though. And look at this Deadeye as well. Good timing from Gargoyle. Ends up using his grass. He's going to be healed back up, or at least gets a decent chunk of shield.
That's the Blizzard cancelled as well there. Yaki's Blizzard, he got killed in the middle of casting it.
Yeah, and OG caught out as well on top of it. Not able to get that immortality field. It's a little bit too scrappy now from the Florida Mayhem to try and turn this one around. The Vancouver Titans are the ones who are coming out on top here. Self-destruct sent in by Fried Wiener, but it's ultimately just to get back into his mech, as you can see them just trying to now get any sort of stagger kills they can on the Florida Mayhem, but they're going to play back here. Vancouver Titans probably quite pleased at this turn of events now, because you've got a minute now to try and capture it into point B.
A preemptive Amp Matrix from Rolpier would be great to stop them even coming close, and then Shredlock's your guy to see whether he can make something happen. Are they gonna go for it? The Amp Matrix is into the wall, but at least it's on that side of the Amp Matrix, I suppose.
Okay, you can see the Gravitic Flux is actually cancelled as well somehow. In the middle of that one, Gargoyle not getting what he was looking for. Still, Linksa will fall. A lot of damage being pumped out. The Ice Wall is going to be blocking a ton of it. Still, the card is being contested, not being pushed in just yet, and Shredlock will fall. The overwhelming might of the Florida Mayhem just overcoming what the Vancouver Titans were throwing at them. And that is a brutal one. Still, they managed to capture checkpoint B in the middle of all that chaos. So the Vancouver Titans just about squeaking out a bit of a lifeline for them.
And that's crucial, because it unlocked extra time on the clock for Vancouver. This would be devastating if they hadn't managed to push those extra little inches forwards. But now Florida have many areas where they can go for these off angles. Once again, playing with a 3-3 split. It's OG, Slime, and Yaki on one side, and then the damage dealers on an off angle.
So the Earth Shadow was laid down there. OG also going to be matching with one of his own. I think it's just Fried Wiener on the floor, but that's all he needs. Again, 3-second rule. Wouldn't recommend eating it, but OG is the one who's cleaning it up. 4 players down.
And the Vancouver Titans have swapped themselves over to the Sigma as well, so they're buying into this theory that Gargoyle's selling them. You're talking about stonks earlier on and learning how to invest. They're certainly buying whatever the Florida Mayhem are selling.
What is going on here?
And this is
Okay,
some
just chucking in the
pain
blizzard
happening in the corridor.
An intense battle that was occurring, I think. Yeah. I like it by the Florida Mayhem, though. You want to be playing close here. Just look at the amount of time they've already burnt off here. Only 40 seconds now for the Vancouver Titans. If they want to try and match the Florida Mayhem, I mean, this push is going to be in overtime.
And if it's in overtime, the best they can do is draw. So saddle up, we're in this for the long haul. BQB, he's got into
What
such
is
a
this?
nasty
Are you kidding me? Nobody checking this. They didn't hit a sound cue from behind. Or at least, I think they may have got confused because Linksa used his Deadeye at the same time, possibly? It's the only sort of justification I can think of for that. But nobody was aware of it, and he ends up catching the 2 players out, setting his team up beautifully for the rest of the fight. 9 seconds remaining here, Josh. And it looks like we're going to be seeing the full hold.
Yeah, you don't have to look so worried, BQB. Your team's got it locked up in the back.
There you go.
That's it. The Florida Mayhem, they come away with Kings Row with some interesting takes on what has been the rush meta in North America recently. They go 2-0 up in the series after, yeah, some close maps, but not really looking like Vancouver Titans had a chance to win at any point during King's Row.
And these teams, I mean, you can see that the Florida Mayhem, pretty much all business, going to be taking this halftime opportunity, of course, to talk about things, what's gone wrong. The Vancouver Titans with an opportunity now to also think about how they want to come back into this. But we're going to be going to a break, and obviously on the other side of it, the conclusion of this series is going to be met. Don't want to miss it, guys. You don't want to be anywhere else. Make sure you stay tuned for the continuation of the series.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles. Stay in the game.
Treadlock now into the backline and gets with both support.
Over the top, gets a double!
And here's a coalescence from the high ground for Rolf, and wow, the timing on that one looks so good.
Really.
Killed and Fire gets two! That is crazy! Time and a great stick from Dal. That's three from him!
That's crazy, they make it work!
Welcome back, everybody, to the series. As you can see, the Florida Mayhem and the Vancouver Titans currently head-to-head. And it is the Florida Mayhem who are currently leading 2-0. But it has been quite close. The Vancouver Titans have shown some decent signs of, potentially taking a map here and there. And a series, it might even get closer the later it goes on here, because the next map we're going to, I'm sure it's going to be appearing fairly shortly, but, spoiler alert, it's going to be Havana. It's a map where we've been seeing a variety, I think, of compositions in terms of the way the teams play it. In particular, we've been seeing a lot of double shield compositions. Now, in terms of how this might fit into the Vancouver Titans, I feel like, unfortunately for them, it might only just favor the Mayhem in terms of the way that they like to play, which is quite deliberate, quite slow, and really going to be putting a lot of emphasis on their heavy-hitting DPS partners.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair analysis of how I expect Havana to go, but for Titans, the positive side is that the defending team tends to try to set the tempo. If you're on defense and you start there, which it's I believe is what the Vancouver Titans are going to be starting on right now, you get to kind of set which comps get run. If you want to start with a rush comp straight out the door, then it becomes a little more difficult for Florida to attack with the double shield. It's very possible, but most of the time we see mirror comps defined by what the defending team is playing. And this is an opportunity for Vancouver Titans to start out on a good footing by playing close up on their defense, getting value out of Teru's walls, Shredlock's aggression, the speed boost from fire. They've been close. They've been close to putting something together that scared Florida over the course of this series.
Yeah, there's definitely been glimmers of it. And at times they've been, as we said, I mean, they've been close to taking rounds and series, or maps, I should say. We'll see what they're capable of now as we're heading over to Havana. And it does look like they're just opting into the rush composition, so going to be holding close as well. This is an important takeaway here. And the Florida Mayhem are as well. Not going to be buying into any of the Arisen nonsense, just going to be going straight up for the rush comps like as we've been seeing. But it happens first. This is a brawl at the gates. Gonna be the quick little flashbang off at the side here. Gargoyle again with the offhand. You can see Slime just peppering in damage, seeing if he can convert it into anything, and that is way too much for Shredlock to overcome. He's gonna be brought down initially. They still need to deal with a lot of these other threats. However, the longer this fight goes, and I say this often, the better it's gonna look here for the attackers. Florida spawn just right next to it. Gonna be wandering out. And the fight eventually, inevitably, will be going their way.
I'm interested to see whether Florida take the opportunity to change their comp, but it doesn't look like it. They're going to continue to go aggressive and try and lock these the defenders as they come back to try and recontest point A. Going to try and lock them out of this high ground control that they would love to take. I want to see more flanks. Florida have been showing us some weird looks with the flanks that have been going on. BQB had a big one with the 2K Deadeye. Gargoyle and Gundam Jin have been going on their own little off angles. I want to see more of that over the course of this map. That's what's been exciting.
You see Rolf actually using the amplification matrix. Deadeyes were used by both these players, and look at the damage. I mean, it's just evident right there in the kill feed. OG and Gundam Jin were the ones who fell early on in the team fight. Yaki just gave up there. He realizes it's pretty much futile. And 2.5 minutes.
They took that engagement though, Brent, really fast as Gargoyle was just stuck on the staircase. Gargoyle couldn't add any damage to the fight, couldn't add his shield to the fight. They were essentially just 5v6. That's what the Titans need to do. Find those opportunities. Florida are playing quite a slow-paced style. They are offering you timings that you can go in onto them, but you have to be fast enough to take advantage.
See Sound Barrier being used by Slime, just trying to keep his team alive. The Blizzard going to be locking up Shredlock, caught out of position. It's going to be a perfectly timed Sound Barrier by Fires. He's trying to keep his team back into it, but a Gravitic Flux now should be free. It's a ton of damage. Can anyone get anything out of it? Yes, they can. It's going to be the D-Mech. Shredlock, the tank line removed now. Vancouver Titans don't have anything to really stand behind. Have to try and stand on their own 2 feet. It's going to be difficult to do. Florida Mayhem are just pumping out an onslaught of damage. And with that team fight win, it's quite awkward. It's probably going to mean that this first checkpoint is going to go the way of Florida. Vancouver Titans might be able to contest it, but I think it's probably safer to just opt out.
Yeah, they have some big ults if they want to try and go.
They are going to do it.
It looks like they do. They're still a couple of meters away. They can certainly try.
Okay. Our Matrix, the wall, the shatter is there. Shredlock knew that was coming. OG went for it, a reaction play. Couple of swings going in, and Deadeye actually does catch BQB as well. Vancouver Titans with an opportunity now. A big pick there. BQB was a tremendous amount of the damage that was being offered for them, and Shredlock just going to seal it and lock it away. The Earth Shatter just connecting onto OG, but that's the only target he needed. That means the Florida Mayhem going to be going back to the drawing board here with 45 seconds left. What a great recontest for the Vancouver Titans. If they were listening to me, probably would have been looking at a hold on checkpoint B by now.
But this is looking really good for them. They have a great opportunity here. The Florida Mayhem have expended big ultimates that they tried to use to secure checkpoint A. And instead it's Teru with the magic in his hands. This is what they tried to do last time as well. Take the fight to Florida, push them, punish them, get that Blizzard down on the floor. And it's worked wonders. Only 10 seconds remaining really on the clock here. And Florida are back in the respawn queue.
Yeah, it's not looking doable now. The longer this gets staggered, the worse it's going to be, and they recognize that. You can see them being chased in close quarters, the amplification matrix. Linksa was chasing one of the players. It does mean that Slime is going to be able to contest this, and the players are falling here. This was pretty much in their hands. All they had to do was just play safe and conservative and prevent them from touching the point, but they don't do it. The Vancouver Titans, they were handed something, but they may have just dropped it on the ground. Shredlock and Teru are going to be falling next to D-Mech onto Fried Wiener and the Florida Mayhem. They see weakness, they pounce on it. That overtime push, well, that's going to be converting into that point A.
It's a tragedy, Bren.
That is pretty egregious.
I mean, that's just a fumble. That is a fumble. You have an opportunity to lock up this map. It's not one at that point, but look at this. They all just get trapped in this room. This is already deep in the fight once the fight is done, to be honest. The kill from Linksa was pivotal, but even like Teru beefs his wall as they're trying to back up. They can't slow down Florida Mayhem. They're slow to transition back to the payload. They've dropped the ball.
The Vancouver Titans not wasting any time getting back into this. Just got to move on if you're a pro player, you know, can't let it get to you. Move forwards now. The Deadeye going to be used by Florida Mayhem, just trying to peel them away. Blizzard overlaid as well, just trying to catch these players, but look at that Gravitic Flux. Sandbarrier instantaneously. Okay, the Earth Shatter counted out. OG going to be connecting at least onto Linksa. This fight is going all sorts of different ways. The Ice Wall trapping fire in. If fire gets frozen, it could be over, but he just left a slight gap, and it allowed Fried Wiener to just get in there and bring down Yaki.
Yeah, that was pretty unusual, to be honest. This fight is slowly but surely going the way of the Vancouver Titans. They managed to get enough picks in that engagement. A Shredlock with the shatter from the high ropes. He was lifted up on a Gravitic Flux. It should do more damage or stun a longer distance if you do it like that. Talk to the devs. See if they can implement that into the game. Now Florida are attacking with a minute on the clock. Always have that amp matrix to open things up. It's such a great engaging tool. And this flanker on the left-hand side is going to give them access to the high ground really early on.
Man's talking Sigma buffs. He was in the meta for long enough, Josh. What do you want?
It's more of a Rhine buff, really, isn't it? If you drop from a higher height, you do more with the shatter.
Yeah. Fried Wiener. Self-destruct here. Yaki going to be falling again. And the Florida Mayhem, they're a bit indecisive here. You can see OG going to the high ground. He has to charge to get out of there. If he gets away with his life, it'll be a success now. 18 seconds now here, Josh. Florida are really struggling to just try and approach a lot of these fights.
They are. They'd love to take high ground control, but it's been denied away from them. Vancouver Titans have done a good job at scouting, and they're holding this staircase. BQB is looking at Deadeye from the high ground. So many targets.
Okay. Kills going to be traded. Links are going to be cancelled out of that Deadeye. And the Blizzards going to be locking down the point. Another Gravitic Flux is a ton of damage. Gargoyle with 3. Look at the work he's putting in right now. He's going to be using the shield to block a lot of the damage coming his way. And he has just about clutched this fight out for them. But only in the overtime now.
That's a monster play from Gargoyle. Absolute monster play. And Lynx is caught with his pants around his trousers. I mean, that was... He just...
around his trousers.
Yeah, his pants around his ankles, maybe. Pants around his trousers. Don't you wear pants around your trousers?
Sure, sometimes. Depends how adventurous I'm feeling. Anyway, we'll see. Freeze up onto the Fried Wiener. They're going to be using a self-destruct just to try and get back in the sound barrier by fire. It's going to be a big advantage. He's trying to force OG into this corner, but he's swinging away. He's still alive. They've kept him up, but not for much longer. He will fall. Still, the overtime will burn. They need to try and bring down some of these players here. Nobody's taking care of Gargoyle, but they didn't take down Shredlock. And now they're just going to be approaching him with the shield here. You can see eventually trying to bring him down. He used the grass just to try and heal himself up any sort of amount, but not enough. And they're going to be stopped dead short there. checkpoint B.
In the end, it's still a pretty good defense from the Vancouver Titans. It could have been better. Let's not lie, it could have been better. They had a great opportunity to full hold on checkpoint A. But from a big picture point of view, this is still a very winnable map here for Vancouver. It's been winnable at various points throughout this series so far. Map 1, extremely winnable. But this has been their next best opportunity to take a map and extend this series and put the pressure on the Florida Mayhem. They need a good attacking round right now. And we don't know what Florida are going to run on defense. They could run double shield. They could run a rush comp. It's hard to predict. So Vancouver have to be prepared for all of it.
Hey there. Hello.
They really do.
Hey. Hey.
And both of these teams, I mean, as we've been pointing out, they're just trending towards a lot of these rush compositions. The Florida Mayhem.
I am surprised, Brent. I'm not going to lie. I am
Yeah.
surprised that Florida are not going for a double shield comp here. When they already
So
want
am I.
Gargoyle to be playing the Sigma, it makes more sense to me to have BQB play the Hangzhou, for example, and play, even if you just want to play May Hangzhou with that. And it really leans into their split flanky off-angle style that they've been running, but they are slaves to the meta perhaps, because rush it is. OG picking up the big hammer.
You can see the way that they split up their tank line here. I mean, Gargoyle is pretty much left on an island. At a bit of an off angle, just playing back here. And he's going to be slamming in this consistent damage. OG, okay, just about wriggled his way out of both of those ice walls. As Terra tried to trap him in. Look at this already. It's going to be BQB finding the first opening pick as Linksa will fall. The Immortality Field as well going down, as Rolf used it a little bit earlier than his counterpart. And that is a very successful forward hold here by the Florida Mayhem. They're going to be pleased with that. They didn't lose anything, which means they can still keep the forward hold going.
That's the key. Even if you trade 1 for 6 as the Vancouver Titans here, it's still good for you. Because by the time you all respawn, that is a 6v5 fight. The Florida Mayhem player is not going to be there.
Yep.
So you need to catch that pick at some point during the fight.
The window's going to be laid down, but again, it's going to counteract that with the ice wall. They're doing a good job so far of a lot of this ice wall placement. Oh, and Linksa winning out that fight, but look at that Earth Shatter. It's going to be a connection onto Rolf and Linksa, and it's enough damage put in that Slime can just finish up Rolf in the back line. He's still hunting for targets, but it's looking a lot more favorable despite the look of it, the outlook for the Vancouver Titans, because the players are starting to respawn. They can just dip right back into the spawn door. The Immortality Field comes up to keep Linksa up. And eventually they will be the winners, yeah.
It took a long time though. That's a minute and a half off the time bank there, Brent. That's a great forward hold, extremely successful. And Florida have used it to channel some big ultimates too. They're now coming back into this with a wealth, a plethora. They can approach this fight however they like. But 6 ults on the board as well for Vancouver Titans. This is going to be a big defining fight as to how point A goes.
See what they're capable of doing here. BQB's Deadeye will stave them off. They're pushed away for now. No one really wants to play within the line of sight of it, but eventually he lets it go. That gives Vancouver Titans an opening now to repush the window again with the Deadeye this time, comboing it up. The Vancouver Titans looking for a pick-off. A lot of damage being pumped into them. The Gravitic Flux as well. It's going to be in a sound barrier coming through, but look at this. The Vancouver Titans, they will not be denied this. Rolling through this first checkpoint now. OG caught out of position. Again, an inevitability. That's a big word.
Yeah, easy for you to say. Lynx has been a beast for the Vancouver Titans. He's come in on this attacking round. He finds an immediate pick onto BQB in the second team fight, and then he's just been able to blast through. I don't know quite how he managed to catch Gargoyle with his Deadeye. It looked like he was going to take out OG, if anybody, but he finds that pick and converts on the rest of the cleanup kills as well. Lynx has got to perform at this kind of level if Vancouver want to win.
See Florida just trying to take the fight to them. If they can get a pick off, might be doable here to just try and stop them early on. Shadow connects onto 2. They're going to be frozen up in the process as well, as the blizzard was already laid down. The Florida Mayhem investing quite a few ultimates into that fight to try and at least hold it here at the door. And they've got to do it. I mean, look at it. The win condition for the Vancouver Titans, they only have to push it to the end of this warehouse. It's not that far at all.
It's not that far, but point B in Havana is pretty tricky when it comes to these rush comps because the defenders always are going to have the high ground advantage. They can control staircases, they can drop on you, they can choose the timings for when they want to engage. The positive factor here is that Florida are quite a slow team, so they're probably not going to take the fight to you too much. And Vancouver have a massive ultimate advantage to work with. So pushing a little slowly here, waiting for Rolf to get up his Ant Matrix is going to give Vancouver a great win condition. And they're getting up this staircase without being challenged by Florida. That's a big mistake by Florida Mayhem to let them get that high up.
Bit of an off-angle approach. Flashbang into the accretion. Oh, but it's BQB who gets caught out. What a read by the Vancouver Titans, recognizing that. They immediately jump on the player that they thought was out of position. The Ant Matrix will be dropped, eventually fading here. Another big flashbang as well, connecting onto two players. Florida Mayhem just hemorrhaging players in this team fight.
The staircase outside, Brent, is such a crucial point of control. If you scout and you see that the Vancouver Titans are pathing towards there, you need to have your Lucio speed you over to counter them, to match them at the top of the staircase. They just gave Vancouver control of all of that high ground area, and now they're in the perfect position to win this map.
Thought the wall was going differently. Teru, that's a bit of a rare mistake there. Ended up putting the wall a little bit too much to the side, and the Blizzard as well. A bit of a panic, I think, just throwing it out, trying to contest this. Gravitic Flux indoors. Somebody needs to drop now onto this cart. You can see the backline being punished here. Pride trying to get in there with the Diva. The charge comes through, but Linksa with the Deadeye. It is chaos in the upper rafters section as ultimates are being strung out all over the place. Shredlock with the Shatter is going to connect. Gargoyle will fall. Fire just trying to at least follow up on a lot of this work that's being done. BQB 7 health, unable to really contest this and touch this. The Immortality Field not enough, and the Vancouver Titans rolling it in. They made it a little bit more difficult for them, but at the end of the day, they do walk away and they're still in this series 2-1.
Hanging on there. The Vancouver Titans set themselves with a prime win condition with that excellent defense that we saw, almost holding the Florida Mayhem at point A. And Florida managed to push it a little bit deeper with some magic coming out of Gargoyle. There were some big moments, but at the end of it, it's Vancouver coming away with the win. And a theme throughout this match so far is that Florida look way more uncomfortable on this Reinhardt style than the double bubble, the Winston Zarya that we saw them play against Atlanta. As we go deeper in this series, there are more opportunities to play Winston though, so fear not, Florida fans. It still seems like you guys have the advantage in this series.
And we're going to find out if that's even capable of doing here. If the Vancouver Titans can come back into this, get a reverse sweep going, who knows? Maybe we can see it twice in one day. We'll find out on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
locations all around the world. This one is going to be epic.
Such a good day of Overwatch. New York kick things off with a bang. Tuba manages to get rid of Masa. Come on. He'll get rid of Kodak. Do I see a Hawkeye? Oh! Wait, what? Are you serious? What's that? Oh dear. In the block. That's the Deadeye. No. Unbelievable. Yeah! Come on! I don't believe what I have just seen. Raw! That is absurd.
That is exactly what the doctor ordered.
And despite their best efforts, the Chengdu Hunters are Chengdan.
Yeah! Huge Decay, he's charged up. There's another graviton surge. He doesn't even need it to connect. You'll fall by the hand of a former comrade. And 2 Decay.
Welcome back, everybody, and I sent you away on the break as well, talking about the second reverse sweep of the day, and you can call that a mistake, or you can call it a prediction for the future, for the next match, you know, the third series of the day. Might be me, you know, just pulling that out of nowhere, trying to rectify it.
Try.
Yeah, all wishful thinking, all just a mistake. But yeah, we're not talking about that just yet. We're talking about the series at hand, which is, of course, you know, between the Vancouver Titans and the Florida Mayhem. We're going to see if the Vancouver Titans can pull off this reverse sweep. I mean, they've got the first step down, which is that initial map to try and get over that hurdle. And we've got a bit of a break time as well between these two teams, so they can actually reflect and talk about what they need to do moving forward. As you can see, the players are getting ready and set up. We did have a substitution being made as well, as Dalton's coming in.
Yeah, Dalton coming in for Teru, and that indicates to me that we're going to start to move perhaps a little further away from the May compositions and more towards Double Bubble with Tracer and Ashe and those kind of heroes getting more playtime. Which makes sense because the map that we're going into is Volskaya Industries. And unfortunately for Vancouver, just after grabbing their first map win in the series, they're going to have their hardest map yet because we're not probably going to be playing Rush. We are probably going to be playing the comfort picks of the Florida Mayhem, the thing that they proved that they were excellent at when they played against the Atlanta Reign, this Double Bubble dive.
Yeah, Volskaya definitely suiting towards that. I mean, we've seen it not just in this season. I mean, previously, it's a map that's always suited these kind of Winston compositions that people like to play up close and personal, the rotation happening with Nano Boost and Primal Rage. And we're going to be heading into it shortly. As these teams are just prepping and raring to go. It is quite unfortunate, but that's how the map pool lies for the Vancouver Titans. And who knows, might be possible. Listen, you know, we've seen stranger things
definitely
happen in
the
the Overwatch League.
We've seen some crazy upsets today. Or rather, we've seen one crazy upset today. You know, at the end of the day, we might not even consider some of these early season results upsets when we look back at them. You know, of course, that's the thing. When we start a season, we come in with a lot of preconceived notions of where the teams should lie, how strong they look on paper, what the rumors are from behind the scenes of how well they've been performing. But what actually defines success is how well you perform in the matches themselves. If Vancouver Titans come out and they sweep the rest of this series and then they go on to win in weeks 2, 3, and 4, people are going to redefine their expectations of this team. Yeah. That's what it means to be successful, is to win when it matters. And yeah, all of the, like I said at the beginning of this cast, people feel like they're starting to get answers here, but it's important that we realize these are only the beginnings of answers, the tasters. There are still many more questions yet to be asked of these teams as they go throughout the league. And this might be the toughest question to be asked of the Vancouver Titans yet in this series. How do you deal with this double bubble defense with Yaki on the Echo? My word, he's good.
Yeah, Yaki puts on a bit of a clinic when he's playing that Echo role. I like to make some hot takes, you know, every now and then.
Okay.
I recently made the claim that Dante was the best Echo in the world after watching him for one game.
You know, but I can get behind that at the moment, though. You know, Dante's looking like a freak on that.
Sure. But Yaki honestly makes a close case as well on the Echo. He's a very formidable player. It's going to be hard for them to get past, but it looks like the Vancouver Titans are going for a bit of a split approach. You can see Dalton on the Tracer just drawing attention into the back line, and now you're going to see the roll through. Shredlock, he's got a lot of shields applied, so it's nice and healthy, but they've got to try and coordinate something and get something going with the Wrecking Ball here.
Vancouver Titans are running a very pokey comp, and they've managed to push Florida and bait them into diving. This is, that was a unique approach, and I'm surprised that it worked so phenomenally well. They managed to maneuver their players into really advantageous positions, and they've got a lot of damage coming through from short range with Linksa, and then Rolf in a great position to get out a huge amount of damage in the team fight too. OG never really had that go button pressed. They didn't know when to engage. They just slowly got backed up into a corner, pushed with their backs to the wall in the mega room, and they couldn't make anything happen.
It's a nice bio-nade from Gangland Jim, but you're right, Josh. It's been a bit hit or miss so far from the Florida Mayhem playing this composition. And we'll see. Though early days yet in this map. First time we've seen them so far in this series as well, but playing it. And Yaki just getting the recall forced out of him. Wants to try and take the 1v1 with him and Dalton off on the flank and the side, but Linksa ends up assisting him as well. The Discord Orb was applied onto Yaki. Dalton with a pulse bomb, not getting too much done, but he is just being a bit of a nuisance. Just messing around in the backline here, trying to apply a lot of pressure to BQB, and they get the kill as well. And now with the forward positioning still, the nano boost applied onto OG means that he can cause a bit of havoc as well. Needs to back away, but now the Primal Rage comes out. Maybe he can collect a kill or two. Beautiful mechanics as well. Just singling out Linksa there in the middle of that fight. And it buys enough time for the rest of his team to get in, but not before. It's given the Vancouver Titans about a tick to work with, 41%.
OG is so talented on the Winston. His mechanics when it comes to stuff like primaling and engaging is world class. It really is. There's never been a doubt when it comes to the actual mechanical skill of this guy. And they look pretty comfortable. But I'm most interested in Vancouver. We've seen the Houston Outlaws use this composition, or a very similar one, when it came to their Dorado play against the San Francisco Shock in just the match prior. It's a lot about the synergy that Shredlock and Dalton can have with each other onto the backline to see if they can find picks on Gangnam and Slime, and then just a large amount of damage coming down from Linksa, from Rolf, getting set up in the best positions.
Shredlock just being pestered here. Now the Graviton Surge is going to come through. It does connect. Catches a couple of these players. You can see them getting these picks off the back of it as well. BQB and Gargoyle finding those, and Florida Mayhem happily trying to just press forward here, and they are getting rewarded for it. I was wondering if they were going to get any straggler kills. The Vancouver Titans just not completely disengaging there.
Vancouver Titans have a Grav Pulse Bomb combo, but what they have to be aware of here is that Florida are looking to engage with OG nano boosted. At some point here, OG is going to jump into their backline of the Zen and the Brig with a Zarya bubble on him, and he's going to be nanoed. And the question then becomes, do you want to try and save your Grav to catch him out? Fried nearly goes down there, actually. But you can use the Grav to bait OG in and punish him. This is a little too early, though, in the team fight to try and do something like that. You can just get the punish on anyway. That is a mad overextension, if I'm being honest.
I mean, the Vancouver Titans, they were just more than ready for it. You can see the Fry win, and look at this. Just lobbing the Grav in. Rolling through, the damage is more than enough to pop the shield, the bubble that was placed on him. Gargoyle off the high ground. They're going to try and get this shield bash to rally, just trying to keep them up. But it's pretty much only on Slime. It looks like the Florida Mayhem are disciplined enough to just focus onto the back line as well. They noticed that the Vancouver Titans may have been weak there, but Yaki. This guy is just a bit of a freak when it comes to the Tracer. Quick little switch up, and he has secured them that little win there when it was looking a little bit dicey.
The silver lining to OG dying so far away from the point is that he respawned really quickly and was able to get immediately back to contesting that objective. So now he has his primal up. Gangnam Jim's built another nano boost, by the way, too. So OG's going to be even more powerful when he tries to engage this time around. This backline is going to need some help, and this time they have no grab. There's no question about what you do with it because it doesn't exist. So it's about getting your players in a good position and trying to survive, to be honest. OG's dive with the nano and with the primal is going to be devastating for the backline here unless they're ready for it. Fire with a great whip shot, that is good.
Oh, OG just opting to only use the Primal. I thought he was about to get a couple of the players knocked off there. Shredlock is the one to go down. And so they're saving the Nano Boost for the next fight here. A lot of damage being done here, and his team needs to back him up for OG to just re-engage, burst the bubble, maybe get a pick. Indeed, his team does. Beautiful follow-up happening here. And they did end up using the Nano Boost earlier in that fight. I'm not sure what the target was.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, actually, because it didn't seem like it was onto OG. I thought they were just going to be able to clean it up with the Primal. I'm not sure they needed to use the Nano there. I wasn't looking at it because I didn't think it needed to be used. A minute on the clock, though, for Vancouver Titans. No compositional changes. They're just going to run this one in. Look at how deep Yaki is. He's just escaped on the last flank with a Discord orb on his head and a bounty on his capture. He was wanted dead or alive.
He's out of there. Got an armor pack for his troubles as well. He's good. Yeah, now the Florida Mayhem are they don't have the rotation of the Primal Rage and the Nano Boost, of course, but they do have other ults to work with. And Gargoyle is the guy that I'm watching, as you can see here. Let's grab it on Surge. It's probably going to be pretty big if he can catch it onto any sort of targets. And look at that, he's managed to catch 2 of them. The Transcendence by Rolf comes through, but it's not going to stop that post-bomb damage. Yaki, nice little 2K. 13 seconds remaining now. Bob has a last-ditch attempt here as Linksa sends it out into the fray, but ultimately not enough, as no players will really be coming even close here. Shredlock moving over to the Wrecking Ball. Just trying to make it happen. Not going to be the case. That's going to be a stop. 75% was what the Vancouver Titans managed to achieve, but it gives a clear goalpost now for the Florida Mayhem to approach on their attack.
Yeah, I think Vancouver, you know, they had a decent idea of what they wanted to do. They clearly understand how the comp is supposed to function, but a lot of the smaller elements just weren't quite there. The coordination between Dalton and Shredlock didn't really seem to exist, and here we're going to see, I think, Yaki just following up on that grab. Stuck in the middle of it. Trans can't do anything. And a great position from Gargoyle to be able to land that grab on the back line in the first place as they're pushing in. I want to give a lot of credit to Yaki, though, in terms of how that defense worked. Because if you give too much space to Dalton, he's going to be able to get into your backline, put a lot of damage onto Slime and Gangnam Jin, and potentially sync up with Shredlock and get these dives working. When Yaki's so active on that right-hand side flank, around where the Mega is, it doesn't give Dalton any space. He's going to be able to play there. He's going to be out of line of sight of any Discord orbs as well. And he's going to be able to take the 1v1, and most of the time you would favor Yaki to win that. I think that ended up being a core part of why Florida were able to hold on.
Yeah, really just keeping players in check. I mean, Yaki on the Tracer is a scary prospect. And he was definitely doing a reasonable job of it. You can see the teams here getting ready to go. Doors are going to open up now, and it's time for the Florida Mayhem's attack. They're moving through.
Absolutely. They're going to be running double bubble on their offense too. So Vancouver Titans opting for the same composition on attack and on defense. It's a poke comp. It's designed to make OG's life difficult.
And that's exactly what Florida are doing here, is just taking stock of the positioning, the comp, what are they doing? And here we go, baiting the power driver in the bubble here. That's an opportunity to go in, but Yaki gets caught out by fire. Probably shield bashed. Didn't quite catch it, but assuming that was the case. And that's going to put a stop on things for now. The Florida Mayhem got to at least just wait this out. Lynx are in desperate need of some healing.
Yeah, OG hasn't really been able to generate any Primal Rage. He's going to take that Zarya bubble and work around the right-hand side. Slime caught, though. Well played by Shredlock, but he gets punished in return.
Yeah, it's going to be that 1-for-1. Slime gets caught out of position, but look at this Nano Boost. 100 charge as well. Lay it up onto Gargoyle. God, that is frightening. It's a good feeling, though, when you're the Zarya. I'll tell you that for free. I mean, when you got 100 energy to Nano Boost, you are unstoppable. And
that is just beast mode.
Yeah, especially with all the sport in the world and nothing to stop it. There's few things in the game that can really just put a hamper onto that, but Gargoyle building up that grab, actually. So it's a bit unorthodox. Normally you see the Nano Boost applied onto, you know, the Winston just to try and build up the Primal Rage, but they're going to have this grab moving into this second checkpoint.
Yeah, let's see whether they can complete a snowball here. They already know what their win condition is. It'll be primed and ready in their head. 75%. They just need to get it a slightest bit further than that. Shredlock and Dalton are going to want to go for Slime and Gangnam Jin in the backline. You saw them try and go for it on point A, but Shredlock wasn't able to get out with his life. Here we go, jump into the backline as well. They have a primal, but no nano. OG, though, immediately with the kill on Rolf.
Yep, OG with a kill on Rolf, and he was battering fire into the corner to set up Yaki with the post-bomb play, but Dalton has tried to turn it around himself. Forced out the south bubble, and it's him and Shredlock who are actually countering a lot of this play and a lot of this aggression. A wonderful little sync up there to try and salvage that play that was occurring. The Florida Mayhem, yep, they're going to have to back off from this one. Wonderful work from both Shredlock and Dalton there, just really finding an opportunity to try and pounce on the backline while all that was going on.
And that's got to be the combo that works really well for the Vancouver Titans. Your backline is pretty safe. They're up on high grounds. Even if they get killed by an OG Primal, they're going to buy enough time. They're going to sucker everybody from the Florida Mayhem in towards the point and survive for at least a little while. But that counter dive with Shredlock and Dalton has got to be fierce. They've got a task ahead of them because there are only 2 guys up against Slime, Gangnam Jin, and Gargoyle. There's a lot to navigate there, but well done on that first defense. 4 minutes, though, is a long time to hold back the tide.
It's a long time indeed. They've already got 1 tick. It's not much further until they get the map win and ultimately win the series. Vancouver have a lot of ults. You can see the nano, though, being applied to OG and instantly going for the counterplay. The grab is laid down here by Winner, just trying to catch them out, but they've already lost Dalton and Fire. Could be disastrous for them. Already, look at that tick going right up as Bob is just laying down suppressive fire from the point in the corner, and nobody can touch it. And it's going to end with a whimper there as the Florida Mayhem are the ones to close it out 3-1. GG's in the chat all around. They will take the win.
A bit more of a solid final map there for the Florida Mayhem as they showcase that they are still the team that we remember them being from their first match. They go up to 2-0 in the first week, but I think there's still questions to be asked of this squad, for sure.
Yes,
we don't know everything about how this Florida team is gonna perform over the course of a long season. They seem like a team that's got strengths in some areas, weaknesses in others. Those are the kind of really interesting stories to follow, especially when so much of it revolves around that mercurial main tank that they have in OG and how he ends up slotting into this team. A valiant effort, though, from the Vancouver Titans. And the illusion there between the two teams is not intended. But it was a decent attempt, a 3-1 loss, but some of those maps that they lost were pretty close.
They were pretty close, yeah. It's I think signs of life for the Vancouver Titans. This was the intended, I think, or not the intended, but the expected outcome.
The intended outcome. You're just confirming that it's all scripted.
Yeah, I mean, I've slipped up a couple of times here today, Josh. I mean, I don't want to slip up any more. The people might catch on. But yeah, it's kind of the expected outcome that what we were thinking. But I think the Vancouver Titans, it's a different season compared to last. It seems like a lot of the teams, especially in the North American region, have definitely elevated, leveled up, and it's given them, I think, a little bit of hope now for at least the May Melee qualifiers presented by Xfinity. Now, obviously, the Florida Mayhem, on the other hand, they've gotten away with the win, and all thanks to the player of the match, of course. It's going to be, we've got to hand it to him, I think, BQB. This gentleman right here was pretty, I think, a prominent member in terms of the why this series was going the way it did, especially on some of the more shakier maps. A lot of the flank angles, a lot of the timings that he was taking were really integral for them to win a lot of these team fights.
Definitely. I don't know whether you remember back to the beginning of last season. Our first glimpses of the Mayhem being a top team last year in the 2020 season were when we began the year with a bit of a rush comp. It was when D.Va was incredibly buffed. We were playing a lot of May McCree. And we saw these little flanks happen with BQB. He was playing alongside Chris, the former main support, on Brigitte, and you'd have these little McCree with a shield in front of him flanks, and BQB had a breakout year. This is just another opportunity for BQB to continue this storyline that we've seen of him really shining and becoming, I mean, he's ranked by IBM Watson as one of our top 10 DPS players from last year. We'll see if that narrative continues heading into 2021.
And I remember, I think a lot of the early narrative was that, you know, BQB was, I think, quite underrated. A lot of people didn't really consider him in that top spot when it comes to the DPS. But I mean, hopefully now we have sold you a better picture now coming into 2021. I think people know that this guy is very, very good at what he does, and he clearly proved it today in the match at hand. Now, I believe as well, coming up soon. I don't want to promise too many things, but I'm going to try and promise this one. But I think we have also an interview that's going to be with Slime, an interview with Slime that's going to be coming up fairly soon as well.
I mean, that is one of the most interesting people to talk to here as well, playing against his former franchise, a new addition to the team as well, and maybe one of the reasons why they haven't quite been able to get the whole fast-paced tempo working.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we're going to go to a quick break, and on the other side of it, of course, we'll have that interview coming up real quick. So do not go anywhere, guys. Even more Overwatch League content coming up on your screen shortly. We'll see you then.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back to Game Break presented by Cheez-It Grooves, everybody. We're joined here by Slime from Florida Mayhem. 슬라임 선수 인사 한 말씀 해주세요.
안녕하세요. 저는 플로리다 메이햄에서 메인 힐러를 맡고 있는 슬라임이라고 합니다.
Hi everybody, my name is Slime and I play main healer, main support for Florida Mayhem. Alright, then let's jump right into the first question. So I know that you didn't get to play a whole lot last season during your time with Seoul Dynasty. Did that sort of motivate you to really turn up this season? 첫 번째 질문은 그럼 곧바로 제가 한번 들어가 볼게요. 지난 시즌 서울 다이너스티와 함께 있으면서 좀 아쉽게도 좀 슬라임 선수를 좀 많이 못 봤는데 플레이 타임이 적은 것이 좀 어떻게 보면 메임으로 들어오면서 슬라임 선수에게서 좀 개인적으로 좀 내가 뭔가를 좀 보여줘야겠다라는 좀 그런 동기부여가 좀 되셨나요?
네, 일단 서울에서 후보 생활하면서 좀 많은 생각들도 많이 들었었고, 그리고 또 좋은 경쟁 상대인 토비 선수가 있었기 때문에 좀 많은 것들을 배우고 이번에 넘어오면서 그런 경험들도 잘 쌓아서 더 잘해야겠다는 생각으로 왔습니다.
So yes, during my time in Seoul Dynasty, I had a lot of thought. I was thinking a lot, and at the same time, in my same position, there was a really talented player named Toby. So I really learned a lot from my time in Seoul Dynasty. And just coming into this season with the Florida Mayhem, I just focused on utilizing all the stuff that I learned from Seoul Dynasty last season. Alrighty, so let's go into my second question. This is actually sort of a fun one. So apparently Sideshow called Mayhem's gameplay sloppy in the first map. would you say that you sort of underestimated Vancouver Titans coming into the match? 이번 질문은 좀 그렇게 막 좀 이렇게 진지한 질문은 아니고요. 어떻게 보면
네.
이번에 경기 캐스터인 사이드쇼 님께서 메이엠 네팔 이제 경기가 좀 시작됐을 때 좀 오늘 좀 메이엠 살짝 좀 허술해 보인다라고 좀 장난스럽게 얘기를 했던 것 같은데 그거에 대해서 어떻게 슬라임 선수가 보셨을 때 밴쿠버 팀을 경기에 들어오면서 살짝 좀 과소평가했다라고 이렇게 말할 수 있을까요?
일단 과소평가는 아니었고 일단은 충분히 타이탄즈도 잘하는 팀이라 생각하고 있었고 그리고 일단 아직은 이제 뭐 연습 경기에서 나오는 그대로가 아직 대회에서는 나오지 않는 것 같아요. 그래서 아직은 적응 기간이고 이제 천천히 이제 더 좋은 모습 보여드리면서 다음 주 쇼크전에서 꼭 이기도록 하겠습니다.
Right, so I wouldn't really call that an underestimation. We didn't really underestimate the Titans. I do believe that Vancouver Titans are a really good team. Just one thing is that we sort of are still getting used to playing matches. I feel like we we're not at the level where we play during practices, so we're sort of still feeling it out. We're still getting used to the actual season, but I can tell you that during our match against the San Francisco Shock, we will try our best and bring out good results. All right, last question. This is sort of on the same line. Like I said, like Saicho said, you guys seemed a little sloppy, but I feel like you guys did sort of come back strong starting map 2 in King's Row. What kind of game adjustments did you guys make? 이거 세 번째 질문도 두 번째랑 좀 어떻게 좀 연관된 건데 좀 첫 번째 맵에서 이제 두 번째로 넘어오면서 바로 좀 이제 팀 전체에 있는 플레이어분들이 좀 다시 좀 정신을 좀 집중을 하고 좀 다시 바로 잡으신 것 같아요. 첫 번째와 두 번째 맵 중간에 좀 어떤 게임 조정이나 좀 어떤 얘기가 오가고 했나요?
일단 게임하면서 조금 안 되는 것들도 서로 얘기하면서 최대한 소통을 많이 하려 했고요. 그리고 원래 하던 대로 하기 위해서 노력을 했던 것 같아요. 원래 하던 대로 하면 되게 편하게 쉽게 이길 수 있을 거라 생각해서 그런 노력들을 했던 것 같습니다.
Right. Our main focus was communications. We were talking about what worked, what didn't work, and how we're gonna fix all our problems. And we sort of just our main focus was just sort of trying to do what we trying to focus on how we usually play. That was our main focus. Just trying to bring out our usual play style and how we usually play on practices. All right, that is it for the player interview. Slime, thank you very much and congratulations on your win. 슬라임 선수 여기까지 그러면 인터뷰를 마치도록 하겠고요. 너무나도 감사드립니다.
네, 감사합니다.
All right, everybody, let's head back to the desk.
Thank you so much, Danny and Slime. Yeah, it is now crunch time presented by Cheesy Groups, and I want to talk about compositions first. Costa, while I know that you dig the Mayhem on those brawl compositions, one thing you weren't entirely sold on was their Sigma. Can you maybe elaborate why that is?
Yeah, the brawl is kind of interesting from the Florida Mayhem. They've been trying to lean Gargoyle into the Sigma more than we've pretty much seen anyone else try and do. And it creates this way that they play the game where they keep Gargoyle kind of on an island on his own, just sort of playing on that off angle, making the opposition team have to deal with it. And the Vancouver Titans just didn't have an answer to that problem. You saw Fried Wiener honestly make the same switch to Sigma just to deal with it. So I'm a little curious to see if that is just personal preference, Gargoyle likes playing that way, or if Florida Mayhem actually thinks that is a better composition. Only time will tell. I still don't think they were super clean on the brawl like they were against Atlanta. Definitely the bread and butter comes in on the double bubble. We saw that on Volskaya. They're just so good at it. Vancouver didn't really have a chance in that final map when Florida sort of got it rolling.
Yeah, I mean, but Reinforce, if we're looking at the other side here from the Vancouver Titans, there were definitely some moments, some bright spots, correct?
Yeah, there were a couple of bright moments. I think that, like Costa mentioned, for Mayhem, they definitely have a few things to figure out, and that's where Vancouver Titans had some things to actually punish and capitalize on. I think Tero, when he came out, a rookie of course going into this season, when he came out on the May, they were able to punish some of the brawl compositions coming out from the Florida Mayhem. And also, like Costa mentioned, they were able to punish Gargoyle sometimes because he was on his own. He was away from the rest of the Mayhem. That is where Tiro on the May and the rest of the Vancouver Titans, they were able to punish Gargoyle and sometimes be able to win fights with some nice ability usage. I think there are a couple of bright spots on this Vancouver Titans team.